welcome back to part 2 of the Bombermechs extravaganza, Into the Breach, on Unfair. We've got the mechs on screen right now. We have the Pierce mech with a +1 damage upgrade, the Bombling mech equipped with boosters, and then the Exchange mech with a movement upgrade and rosy rivets in the pilot's seat. We've got Ralph on the bench. We're trying to level up our other 2 starting pilots. And now it's on to my next island choice. So I see that Pinnacle has Tumblebugs and the Shell Scion. RST has Starfish and the Raging Scion, and then Archive has Spiders and a bunch of other really unpleasant things. So I think that my rationale for my next island was to pick a slightly easier one and try to build up some more power cores to give me the strength to handle the more problematic islands, which looked like Archive and Pinnacle. So I pick RST. So right off the bat, I can see Hardened Point is a Hornet Hole spawning mission. That just was really not like what I wanted to deal with. Lightning Storm mission, usually pretty player-sided, but, no reputation to give me, some more boosts. So then we've got Defend the Renfield Bombs. And normally I try to avoid the Renfield Bomb mission. It can be pretty problematic. But I believe that the Bombermechs, with the ability to swap things, has a little bit more of an advantage here. So I pick this as my first mission, and it honestly proves to be one of the more difficult missions of the island. And can you spot part of the reason why? Yes, that's right. We've got right on space A4, a mountain tile with a mysterious beacon hidden within. So once again, we're going to have spoilers if we can successfully extract and get a new secret pilot. Definitely worth doing, but this will complicate things slightly. Note in my deployment that I was trying to bait Starfish attacks, and also maybe bait a Alpha Hornet attack. I was only successful, though, in baiting the lesser Starfish. So we have 3 problems to deal with. We have the Hornet targeting the grid, and then the Alpha Starfish and the Alpha Gastropod threatening one of the Renfield bombs. However, we can solve almost all of our problems with a single action. That would be the ever-popular Exchange mech. And we can just replace the Renfield bomb with a Hornet, and that will kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So, with the rest of my mechs free to take actions, this is as good a time as any to try and get that secret beacon as quickly as possible. So, what I figure I can do is I can break that mountain open with the Pierce mech, and then use the Bombling mech to retrieve the beacon. And I can get a nice kind of 2-for-1 here. So the beacon has been retrieved. We just have to protect it now like a normal time pod when it arrives. And the Bombling mech still has a free action. It's a bit of a waste, honestly. I maybe should have considered using boosters instead, because that Alpha Hornet is doomed regardless. I guess I'm getting a little bit of chip damage on the Alpha Starfish. And actually, I do think that pays dividends in the near future. But that was a pretty painless turn 1. We will be down a Hornet and down a Scion, which is nice. But we will be expecting more incoming spawns. And we had a double promotion. Rosie and the starting pilot in the Bombermech, the Bombling mech rather, have gotten a level up. But this is a tricky turn here. That Scorpion on C2 is a problem. So skipping ahead a little bit in time, I try to see what I can do to deal with multiple threats. We've got the Starfish threatening the grid and a Renfield bomb, and the Scorpion threatening the grid. Now, we can ignore, technically, the Starfish, the lesser Starfish, and the Alpha Gastropod, but part of the problem is if I use the Pierce mech to push that Scorpion away, then the Pierce mech would be destroyed by the Gastropod. So that was no bueno. So I'm trying to see what I can do to figure out a solve here, and I make a kind of silly mistake. I swap the starfish with the Renfield bomb on the diagonal, and that accomplishes basically nothing. It is still going to be threatening on the diagonal. So I made a silly mistake here, and the Bombermech can't really do anything to help the situation. I thought my original idea was to block the gastropod's attack with the walking bomb, but that still leaves the Renfield bomb threatened. So that was a little bit too hasty, and I use a temporal reset. I have to find a better solution. And my mantra with the Bombermechs is that there is always a better solution. This, for one, is a better move here. We can shoot through the Renfield bomb and finish off that starfish. Thanks to the fact that we already did some chip damage to it, it will be destroyed. And that just leaves the Scorpion as the problem that must be addressed. And there were many ways I could have maneuvered the Scorpion exchange mech swap, and I honestly wasn't very pleased or satisfied with what I wound up doing, which we will see shortly. I'm going to swap the Pierce mech with the Scorpion, and while that definitely protects the grid, the bad side is it will leave the exchange mech in sort of a bad position. The exchange mech is now all the way on the extreme far side of the board. This puts it far away from, the rest of the units, both friendly and hostile, that it can manipulate. Then, the Bombermech has kind of a free action, which we will just spend blocking spawns. So while this turn ended successfully, it sets me up for failure in the future. The exchange mech is now really out of position. And now we have this really nasty turn. So we have to deal with the starfish, and we have to deal with both scorpions. And one of the weaknesses of the exchange mech is if you have Vec attacking, multiple Vec attacking in the same direction. Both of the scorpions are attacking in a northerly direction, and that means that exchanging their positions accomplishes nothing. And the fact that the exchange mech is in that weird position on the far side of the board means that it can really only, if it exchanges the scorpion with, say, the gastropod or the starfish, then the exchange mech would get destroyed by the attacking scorpion in turn. So it's a real tricky situation. And I position the exchange mech all the way over there with the idea that I will fire a walking bomb and then can exchange it with either a scorpion or one of the scorpion's targets. Now, this will work in a pinch, but I was not able to figure out a way to save the grid tile on B7. Maybe there was a way to save it. If you can see one, post in the comments. I'm always intrigued to hear. Instead, I wind up, killing the starfish, and then just swapping I believe the Renfield bomb, which keeps that scorpion still in the middle of the board. And it keeps our mission objective protected, but we will be down a grid health, which is always a bummer. I think it's the second point of grid damage I've taken on the run, which is, not ideal, but certainly better than some of the other runs I've recently done, such as the hazardous mechs. So now it is our penultimate turn. We've got 2 threats to a Renfield bomb, but no other threats to the grid. Oh, and I guess this was my last turn, not the penultimate turn. So this is an easy solution. Just get the Renfield bomb to safety. And then it's just a matter of, can I fish up any extra experience? And I do. I'm able to get Maria Sanchez leveled up. They get Opener. And then Binary gets Popular Hero. So I'm going to be benching Binary. And I'm going to be getting a new pilot from the Strange Pod. So that's somewhat serendipitous. Opener is pretty solid in the Pierce Mech, it being my primary damage dealer. And I also don't think that Opener does anything with the bomblings, the walking bombs. I think they count as their own unit. And we get Kazakh Pleth with Conservative. So I think I'm going to be replacing the Bombermech pilot with Kaz. This will open up more options for the Bombermech. It'll give it a melee attack and a push. So now the Bombermech is quite the versatile unit. You know, it's got mobility with boosters, it's got damage with Kazakh Pleth's Mantis attack, and it has the eponymous bomb dispenser. And then for the power core I've unlocked, I think I elect to put it in the Pierce Mech. You know, it'll benefit from a movement upgrade, and also eventually I will be fully upgrading it. Oh, I guess I put it into Kaz. That makes sense too. Giving Kaz more mobility. So the next mission I want to pick is this one here. Destroy 2 mountains and protect the robotics lab. The 1 rep, 1 power core missions are somewhat rare, but I figure it's relatively easy. We've got a pair of starfish, an alpha hornet, and a gastropod, as well as the raging scion. So I'm trying to position my mechs to maybe bait the starfish, but I can see that they lack the movement to threaten my mechs. So I think I then consider maybe rearranging deployment to perhaps bait that gastropod. And then yes, I'm happier with that arrangement. Bait successful. So we only have 1 threat to the grid this turn, which is nice. And with Opener, I believe I have the ability to potentially destroy that starfish leader. Ah, but that hornet's in the way. Oh, I can just push the hornet. There were multiple 2-for-1s here. So now it's just a question of the bombling mech and the exchange mech essentially have a free action. So I would like to spend this time, if possible, destroying mountains to help my mission objective. Or else, you know, do population control, spawn blocking, any number of things. So I go over and blow up a mountain. That is 1 of 2 mountains destroyed. Then the exchange mech doesn't really have great targets, but I can at least put some damage, I think, on the starfish by changing its position with the Pierce mech. And that also damages a mountain, doesn't destroy it, but, you know, it is only to my benefit. So it's a functional 3v3 on the next turn. And again, we are fortunate in that we only have 1 threat to the grid. I think Kaz will just finish off the starfish, give him a little bit of experience. And then I could have just blocked a spawn with the Pierce mech. Instead, I think... Do I destroy the scion? If I did, that was maybe a misplay. I could have just left the scion alive. It's not really doing anything to help us one way or another. Okay, I just block a spawn. So once again, we'll be looking at a functional 3v3. This particular variety of enemies is not too terrible. It's the sort of thing that the Bombermechs themselves do not have a whole lot of trouble dealing with. Once again, using that, using enemies' strength against them philosophy. That was an excellent time to just complete the mission objective while we had a free action. And then we can just spend the rest of our time blocking spawns. And we will be mostly in the clear. We just have to survive one final turn. This time with no more hornets to deal with. There are multiple ways to approach upgrading the Bombermechs. Now, with this particular kind of the way these things shook out, I had boosters from my first island reward, which I put on the Bombling mech, and I still haven't really used them very much, as you can see, but it was the sort of option for the Bombling mech that I decided I could maybe not invest in upgrading the walking bomb dispenser. Instead, I just kind of focused my cores into the Pierce mech. I often find getting the damage upgrade on the Pierce mech pays pretty good dividends. For a brute class weapon, it's got pretty reasonable damage upgrades. Fully upgraded, it does 4 damage, potentially 5 if you can push it into something. And that's that sweet spot that kills alphas. That's why I invested my new power core into the Pierce mech. Very happy to see defend the Terraformer. Usually a easy peasy one. The Exchange mech really enjoys anything that delivers instant death. So I'm trying to set my mechs up in such a way that I can bait as many as I can to be, close to the destruction zone of the Terraformer. That's why I'm kind of placing my mechs to bait starfish attacks. But as I was talking about upgrade strategies with the Bombermechs, there's many ways you can do it. You can invest heavily into the Pierce mech at the beginning, going for, damage. Or you can, I often sometimes will invest into the Bombling mech, getting the 2 bombs dispenser upgrade. That can unlock a great deal of flexibility. It's a more defensive upgrade tree, I would say. It's giving you the ability to block more spawns, body block more projectile attacks. It's providing more targets for the Exchange mech. But what you will notice is that I do not talk about upgrading the Exchange mech. You can. The Force Swap can be upgraded to either heal allies or do, I think, 1 point of damage to enemies when you teleport them. But the Exchange mech is already so powerful on its own that I don't honestly think it needs that upgrade. You can see me jockeying for position here, trying to figure out the optimal way to use the Terraformer for the first time. What I realize I can do is I can set that starfish on fire with the bombling, and then it will be destroyed. And then I can tank a single point of damage from the gastropod on D2. And then I can just use the Terraformer to wipe out all those alphas for me, and we're off to a good start. But yes, I've never really tried upgrading the Exchange mech weapon, other than, if I just have extra power cores lying around. I find that the healing friendly ability, it could be useful, but on this particular party composition I've already got Rosy Rivets. I already have the ability to heal allies. And then the damaging enemies is, while interesting, I think it can oftentimes be somewhat detrimental. There are times when you don't want your target to be destroyed. You are kind of relying on whatever it is you're teleporting surviving. Either to maybe do friendly fire damage or to body block another attack, etc., etc. So that's kind of why, on this particular run, I got Rosie on the exchange mech, so I didn't think I needed to worry about anything like, healing friendlies. And then I had already unlocked multiple different utilities for the Bombling mech. I've got boosters, and now I've got Kaz. So, the Bombling mech is now just kind of a weird little Swiss Army knife unit, which meant that just, by process of elimination, the Pierce mech became my best option for upgrades. Little switcheroo here means I can use the terraformer to just wipe out these scorpions. And then Pierce Mech has the other Vec handled for us. I think I just use boosters to reposition Kaz slightly with my free action. And we will be in good shape here for the final turn. A 3v3, or 3v4 if you count the terraformer. And then I can set both of these Vec up for a prompt terraforming. Look at that, I even managed to repair the damage done to the terraformer using Rosie's unique passive ability. And as expected, Defend the Terraformer was a walk in the park. We managed to top off our grid defense. Then I have basically all of my options available to me. We've got to defend the train mission, which I wasn't feeling necessarily confident about. I was keen on getting another perfect island reward, and so I actually decided to go with the Lightning Storm mission. Yes, getting a little bit more grid defense isn't great, but I wanted that perfect island reward. I deemed that more valuable. And also, this mission has the lightning strikes, and the Bombermechs, I think, can take advantage of the instant death lightning strike tiles. It's a good map for the exchange mech, and it's just a good map to get some more XP for my pilots. The lightning strikes will help the pilots that aren't in the Pierce mech get a little bit more of that sweet experience. So we have one legitimate threat to the grid. No, I guess two. We've got that Starfish and the Alpha Scorpion to deal with. But it's easy enough to take care of the Starfish. And then a switcheroo on the Scorpions will be a nice 2-for-1. And that just leaves Kaz. I think his best bet is to simply just block a spawn. Easy peasy. This particular map seed can be pretty problematic. It's very claustrophobic. I think it errs on the side of enemy-sided. But it also can be a little bit swingy. And I think if there's any squad that does not get bothered so much by this type of map, it would be the Bombermechs. The Pierce mech can fire through grid buildings. The exchange mech can just kind of affect things all over the board. So we are somewhat lucky. We don't have to worry about the Alpha Scorpion. It will be struck by lightning. That just gives us... Oh, we're also fortunate in that the Bombling Mech was targeted by the lightning, so that's a very easy swap target. And then we can just push that Scorpion, get a triple spawn block going. No sense in damaging Kaz unnecessarily. I also find that Kaz and Rosie is a really nice team. Kaz is incapable of healing himself, but in a pinch, Rosie could come to his rescue. Or even resurrect him if he was destroyed. So I've covered, I feel like I've covered a lot of my weaknesses. We're a pretty well-balanced team at this juncture. And then we get, yet another kind of free turn. This was a, RNG was with us here. We just have to block as many spawns as we can. And we will be facing only one enemy for our final turn. Love to see it. Of course, heavily blocking spawns like this is not conducive for XP farming. But, that's fine. We take easy missions. I think I just just give it to Kaz. He could use it. He's a good silly bug boy. Or girl, I'm really not sure. Given that female praying mantids are larger than males, maybe Kaz is a lady. So we are on to the boss fight for RST, the Blobber Leader, on one of the weirder map seeds. I believe what I try to do is do my patented Blobber Bomb bait formation, which is this little V formation here. That will allow us to ignore the Blobber Bomb on the first turn and focus on damage control. Let us see if we are successful. Yes! 50% of the time, it works every time. So we really only have to worry about the Scorpion targeting the corporate tower. And I see, I think, a cute little maneuver I can do. I just have to spend some time calculating. So I can swap the Pierce Mech with the Scorpion. That protects the tower. Then, if I can get something for the Pierce Mech to shoot through, I can do some serious damage on the Blobber Leader. And wouldn't you know, but we have a piece of equipment that lets us deploy something for the Pierce Mech to shoot through. We get to do the classic maneuver. And the Bombling can finish it off. Mission accomplished. You love to see it. The Blobber Leader's bomb will linger for a turn. It's a very strange little unit. It does, 2 damage, but then it doesn't fully blow up on the first turn. It does 2 detonations. It's a very strange little unit. So on this turn, we have 3 threats to the grid, one of which is the corporate tower. And we have 3 actions to do something about it. But I believe I am a little bit too hasty and do not properly visualize the sequence of events here. sometimes you need to kind of work through things with the Bombermechs. They are so flexible, it can be easy to lose track of the options available to you. So I elect to swap that Scorpion with the Bombling Mech. And you know, I used Temporal Reset, but I don't think I had to. I could have used boosters to push the Starfish, and then I could have... Oh, that's the problem. The Pierce Mech could not have pushed that Gastropod without also damaging the grid behind the Gastropod. So instead, I swap those two, and that is a much cleaner solve. That would explain my hesitation. And then we can just block a spawn. Yes, in editing, I had to kind of skip forward a little bit in time to where I did the temporal reset. But it goes by pretty quickly. Blink and you miss it. So it's our penultimate turn, 4v4. With 3 threats to the grid. But those Starfish are an excellent position for the Pierce Mech to solve. Nice. And then there are multiple ways we could deal with the Gastropod over there. Maybe that was maybe a little bit of a misplay. I could have jumped to A4, and then the Alpha Gastropod would have done friendly fire to its buddy. But it's fine. You know, we've already used our temporal reset, so too late now. Our final turn will be a 4v4, but I am confident in our ability to end the island strong. So we have 2 threats to the grid. And really, we can solve all of this with the exchange mech. But there you go. Easy. The Pierce Mech has nothing better to do. But that's fine. So I'll be curious to see what our island reward options are looking like as we prepare for our 3rd island. Looking at that map at the beginning of the mission, I know that Pinnacle is going to be tough because we're going to have armored enemies and the tumblebugs to deal with. And then Archive might be even worse. We're going to have leapers, spiders, moths. I'm happy to see Henry Kwan with Opener. That's basically just a flat upgrade from my starting pilot that has Opener. And even though the heat converter is an interesting item, I still don't think I've showcased it yet. And I do have conservative pilots, but I figured Henry would be more useful for me. You know, exchange mech, teleport notwithstanding, mobility is one of the more, you know, weaknesses of the Bombermechs. Now, I've got networked shielding, ice beam, and the shield tank available. Now, I know that I've got a pilot with conservative, and the deployable tanks are, you know, just compound interest if you can get multiple tanks deployed. So I think that what I like to do is sell my popular hero pilot, buy the shield tank, and then just invest the rest into cores as heavily as I can. And that will put the shield tank, you know, it'll get it online and we'll get some good upgrades for it. And that just turns the Bombling Mech into even more of a weird little flex unit. The Bombermechs, as I've mentioned before, really enjoy having multiple friendlies on the map. It's more things for the exchange mech to manipulate. And, you know, having shield tanks will definitely give us a defensive edge. I consider selling my other 2 pilots, but I decide to just leave them on the bench. And then I may not do it right now, but I think I will sink the +1 move power core into the projectile upgrade and just have the shield tanks fully upgraded from the get-go. And then I still have the boosters. I put it in the Pierce mech. Why not? It's a omnidirectional push if I need it. So join me for next time as we take on the chaos that is Archive, if memory serves. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the future.